said all that because this might be slightly controversial. I've got Taliese Fuaga at number 5 from Oregon State, who I believe, Stu, you're going to really like. How do you have him much higher?
3.
Okay, I thought you'd have him at 2. So okay, so not far away. I'll let you speak on his strengths first, if that's okay, because I don't want to go too far into the weaknesses with him too early.
I've got about 50-50 if I'm honest.
Yeah.
On these things. So yeah, let's start with strength. He's an absolute beast. I liked Fuaga early on in this scouting cycle. He's a real run game mauler. He's physical. He plays with leverage and has really strong hands. He's got quite good recovery and redirection skills. He shoots up the field in the run game. When you're watching Oregon when the run plays, the running back, crikey, Fuaga's away up here already. He really explodes out of that stance, and he's quick in that game. And I think he's got a real nasty demeanor to him. He wants to bury defenders, sometimes to his detriment. He sometimes is overly aggressive in that kind of things. But you're probably going to talk on that as well. There is quite a few buts here as well. He has got slightly shorter arms. I think he's not as flexible in the hips as some of these other guys to sink particularly into those passing sets. In the passing game, I think he's too upright. He plays really upright. People can get underneath him. He's sometimes over aggressive, and I think his footwork needs some adjusting in the pass protection as well. The problem for me is he's often beaten on his outside hand. If he shows people to inside, he's very easy a winner on that. People get on his outside shoulder, they get round him quite quickly. And that for me is particularly with some of these bendier, faster pass rushes, that can be an issue.
Yeah, so I think we see him actually quite similarly in the end. I was a little bit worried that I saw something that other people didn't when I had him ranked down at 5, because fantastic size at 6'6", 324, can explode off the snap, and the explosiveness in the run game is exceptional. But you've spoken about all that. My problem was the lack of bend, I think, and the getting caught upright. And it was far too often, and it meant that he gave up leverage far too easily. I think it meant that he struggled to seal the edge at times, which caused him to overcompensate. Then the aggressiveness kicking out meant that he drifts too far, leaving the inside shoulder. I had quite a lot of problems with the way he was attacked on the inside shoulder. I know you said you didn't there, Stu, but I felt like rushers were able to kind of duke him into taking the inside lane, because he's tried to overcompensate, go too far out, and left a gaping hole to be filled. And playing too upright meant that he has to overextend, and he doesn't have the length to compensate for that. And that'll get found out in the league right away. He can get left flat-footed as well when I felt defenders were taking maybe slightly more unusual angles and weren't lined directly over him. Which exposed him especially to power rushes. The standing up meant that he struggled to generate power and grab players at the first point of contact in passing sets. And he can just bounce off defenders rather than pushing him back, just simply because he's standing far too upright. But it's what he does in the run game, I think, is gives him the floor for him to be a high pick. But yeah, I struggled a little bit with the pass protection. It doesn't mean that he can't work on it, because if he wasn't so upright, a lot of these things would just sort themselves out. Like I can rattle off a list of, but it was all caused really by him being far too upright. And if he can just sink a bit further down, stop oversetting in pass protection, then and stop being a little less frantic, just play a little bit more controlled, then I think this can be solved.
I think that, if he's going to play tackle, I think he is a right tackle in that more that.
Yeah.
He reminds me, the similarities there with who did the Bears pick it last year? 10.
Okay, Darnell Wright.
Darnell Wright. He's that big run mauling player. He's almost over aggressive on that right hand side. I don't think you're going to play him as a pass protector on that blind side. And
Yeah.
I see what you mean. Is he better suited to tuck inside where he's not having to kick out?
Well, yeah, I think so straight away.
Yeah, I think it's not an unreasonable call. I was really high on him to begin with. I've watched a little bit more, and the more you study, the more you see the weaknesses that are there. That I think you have seen him just drift off a little bit. People will have him right up there. I suspect he might drift a little bit more again, but he's going to be taken in the first round. People will like his traits in there, but I'm not quite as high on him as I was initially.
Yeah, I was going to say that to give us some type of credit, because no one else will. I don't think we've changed that much on him. I think all of a sudden people are talking about him being one of the top guys, and when we've spoken about him before, we haven't so much. It was more going, this is a guy that people need to watch because he's going in the
Mm-hmm.
first round, rather than,
Yeah,
was it Lance Erlang mocked him to number 6, and you think that's far
no.
too rich for me. But I don't. I think we've stayed pretty neutral in him since we saw him. But yeah, there's not just two weaknesses. It's pretty equal. But he's got a skill set that you would like to bank on.